Hey guys, what's going on? So before I get rolling here, I just want to put this out there. When it comes to the medical establishment and medical care, when we talk about things like you talk about a talented trauma surgeon or surgeons that are, transplanting organs, reattaching limbs, some of the stories I read and I've read are nothing short of, in my opinion, miracles. I couldn't imagine the skill that it takes, the nerve, and just everything, right? Just what some of these people can do. It's so far, a lot of it out of my realm of comprehension that I'm just blown away by all of it. That said, when we juxtapose situations like that and a skill set like that, and like I said, basically miracles that some of these guys perform, we juxtapose that with this absolute shit show that is type 2 diabetes. I just can't wrap my head around what's going on here. We're in a situation where people are literally eating themselves to death. And we have talented medical professionals that could perform miracles. And then we have everyday general practitioners and doctors and other medical, the American Diabetes Association, on and on and on. Pharmaceutical companies who will have you believe that type 2 diabetes is some type of disease that you caught, that it's something that once you have it, the only thing you could do is just succumb to it and hope to live out your life. And they always use the term, we have to manage it. We have to manage your type 2 diabetes. I saw a stat today that said that the average type 2 diabetic, assuming they had no insurance, they would spend upwards of $17,000 a year just on supplies and testing and things like that to sustain themselves as a type 2 diabetic. $17,000 a year. About 67% of that is paid by the government here in the United States. And another, I think it was 30% was paid by private insurance companies, and then 2% by people that are uninsured. Type 2 diabetes costs the United States around $340 million a year. It's over $200 million, and then another $90 to $100 million in lost productivity and things like that. So the CDC tells us that there's about 37 million adults just in the United States that have been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and upwards of another 100 million people that are what they call pre-diabetic. And for all intents and purposes, pre-diabetic means you're diabetic. You're well on your way to nerve damage, neuropathy, amputations, blindness, everything that comes with it. You're already on that downward slope, and nothing's going to stop you. So, if they say you're pre-diabetic, unless you make an extremely drastic lifestyle change, you're a diabetic. And again, the medical establishment will tell you that this is a disease, some type of disease. It's a condition that you eat and drink yourself into, okay? They'll try to tell you that it's genetics. Did your parents have type 2? Were your parents type 2 diabetics? Well, you were destined to have it. Well, you probably were, but I don't believe it was built into your genetics. I think that if you live and were raised by certain people that ate and lived a certain way and drank a certain way, they passed that on to you, and that you saw that as the norm. So you did it, you keep doing it, of course you're going to wind up as a type 2 diabetic. They will tell you that it's due to a lack of physical activity, which is a crock of shit in itself. As much as I advocate exercise, I think everybody should. I think it should be a non-negotiable part of your life. You can probably live a pretty long, healthy life without ever doing a day of exercise if you eat the right things over the course of your life for the majority of the time. They'll tell you that because you reach a certain age, and according to the American Diabetes Association, that would be 45, you are at a much higher risk to develop, they say, type 2 diabetes. Well, what that is the chickens, actually the cookies and the cake coming home to roost, because it takes time. It's like building up compound interest, right? You eat shit, you drink shit, and you do it over and over and over. And it takes time for this to build up. That's why when I hear people say that seem to be on the surface relatively healthy, and they'll say, well, I can eat anything I want because I burn it off. You're fooling yourself. You can't. There are very, very, very few people that have the genetic fortitude to withstand the standard American diet for any length of time. You're gonna pay a price. You're gonna pay a serious price. You can kid yourself for a while and say, I can eat what I want, I burn it off. And again, thinking that exercise, I exercise 5 days a week, so there's no way it's gonna happen to me. But what you put in your body is what's damaging your body, and it takes time. It's not gonna happen overnight. It may happen to me in 30 years, it may happen to you in 10 years, it may happen to your cousin in 25, you don't know. You don't know. Maybe that's where genetics comes into play. It might be, but at some point, again, you're gonna pay a price. Way down on their list of reasons, I believe on the American Diabetes Association website, I think their number 5 cause of type 2 diabetes is an unhealthy diet. They'll say that it can contribute to insulin resistance and obesity. I would contend that it's the number 1 cause. And if by any chance you happen to be a doctor, a general practitioner, a dietitian, or a nutritionist, and you're hearing what I'm saying, and you believe I'm wrong, please contact me, and maybe you can come on the channel and you could educate me, and you can explain to me exactly what's going on. You can tell me where I'm wrong, and you can tell me how it's not years and years of the standard American diet and people boozing and being under stress and not sleeping right and causing these hormonal imbalances in their body that lead to obesity, that lead to insulin resistance, that lead to type 2 diabetes, that leads to the amputations, the blindness, the heart attacks, the heart disease. You tell me. You come on here and you educate me and you tell me what's causing it. And you show me how the human gene code changed in the last 50 years, how we went from people, men and women, having an average weight of 160, 170 pounds to now being 200 pounds, 30, 40, 50 pounds over what they used to be. You explain to me how the human gene code took that complete 180 in the course of 50, 60 years. And it just so happens to correlate with the first iteration of the USDA food guidelines back in the late 1970s and early 80s. And how obesity and type 2 diabetes rose steadily along with those guidelines. You explain that to me. I would really appreciate it, because I probably am wrong. I'm just some asshole with a cell phone and a YouTube account, so I don't know what I'm talking about. A lot of them, I'm sure the medical professionals do. But what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing are two totally different things. And I see it every single day. And it's a travesty. It's an absolute fucking travesty what's going on. So again, if you happen to be a medical professional and you happen to see this, please contact me. And you come on and you straighten me out. You tell me different. And you tell me how people have to live. If I go to a doctor and I have a hammer in my hand and I'm banging my head with the hammer, and I said, "Doctor, my head hurts," and he says, "Oh, don't worry about it." And he gives me a painkiller and sends me home. I come back 2 weeks later and I'm hitting my head even harder. And I said, "Doc, my head hurts even more now." And he said, "Don't worry, I have we'll try a different type of painkiller." Now I come back a third time, now I'm bleeding. And he says, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna give you an antibiotic because we don't want to see an infection with that cut, and I'm gonna give you some more painkillers." Why at the first visit did the doctor not just lift the hammer out of my hand and say, "Don't do that anymore"? Why, when people come in and they're diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic from day one, do you not tell them, stop eating fucking cookies, stop drinking booze, change your lifestyle? Your first course of action is to give them some metformin, tell them to lose weight, don't eat red meat, and send them home. And they'll come back to you for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and until they are losing limbs, they're losing toes, they're suffering, their livers are falling out of their bodies, their hearts are failing. So please come on and educate me. Tell me something different. And you guys, if you think I'm off base here, let me know in the comments. Let me know if you know somebody. I'm sure you absolutely do. If you're watching me right now, if you're not diabetic, if you're not pre-diabetic, you know somebody very close to you. You know a lot of people close to you that are. If you're not obese, you know plenty of people that are. So come on and tell me that I'm wrong. Tell me that I'm way off base. Tell me that type 2 diabetes is all genetic, and the only course of action is to just live your life like you have and take medications. Again, that's always going to be the course. If you look at the American Diabetes Association, they're funded tens of millions of dollars they get from the pharmaceutical companies. Tens of millions of dollars go to the American Diabetes Association. Do you think for 1 second that a course of treatment for type 2 diabetes will ever be anything other than take medication? There was a big uproar back in the early 2000s because the American Diabetes Association was taking funding from the company that made Dr. Pepper and Cadbury chocolate eggs, from a candy and soda company. Do you think that that's not going to influence any of the advice that the American Diabetes Association or any of their protocol? Do you think that that's not going to affect what they say and do? I don't know, maybe I'm naive, maybe I'm way off base again. Leave me a comment down below, guys. I'm gonna leave it there. When I saw that today, I kind of went down the type 2 diabetes rabbit hole, and it's something I dealt with. You know, my mother died from liver and heart failure as a result of diabetes. And prior to that, I had no idea what it was, and I had no idea about the inner workings of the medical establishment. And I got a real quick and a really quick education, which culminated with me sitting on the edge of a bed back in July of 2019, holding my mother's hand as she took her last breath. As a result of this, it's not genetics. It's something that can be reversed with lifestyle. I firmly believe that. So again, let me know what you think down below. I appreciate you guys listening. Everybody have a good night. Make sure you get some reps in. Not that it's going to cure your diabetes, but we still always want to exercise. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you in the next one.